Okay, so good afternoon. Welcome back. So last week we saw the basics of planar maps, deterministic planar maps. We saw a bit of surgery. We saw Todd's equation. We saw how to solve. Well, I gave you the solution, not how to solve the solution to Todd's equation in the case of quadrangulations. So just a quick recap of the enumerative formula that we would need. So last week I was dealing with QLN V is equal to n means that the number of vertices is equal to n. We enumerate this guy. But in this course I will also need QL number of inner faces is equal to n. So I'm not counting the outer face. So quadrangulation with a boundary of perimeter 2L. You remember that the outer boundary of quadrangulation with boundary must be even. So I always divide it by 2 here with n inner faces. And from the enumeration, the asymptotic enumeration of this guy, it's easy to deduce that we have the following behavior. The number of quadrangulation with n inner faces and a boundary of length 2L is asymptotic when n is large to rho to the n to the minus 5 halves, where rho, I recall you that it's 12. And this function CL has a universal form, which is just this function h a row, upper row, which is basically given by the central binomial coefficient, times alpha to the L, the exponential factor, where alpha here is 8. And we will also need the partition function. So I remind you that we define WL, use sum of all the quadrangulation with a boundary of perimeter 2L. You enumerate them by the number of inner faces, and you put a weight which is rho to the minus n. So n is the number of inner faces. And this guy has an explicit form, which is recalled here, so involving the same function h upper row. And from this guy, so the series is converging because of this asymptotic there. And this guy can be seen as the partition function in the following measure, the Boltzmann distribution on quadrangulation with a boundary of perimeter 2L is just you pick a guy, a quadrangulation with a boundary of perimeter 2L proportionally with rho to the minus the number of inner faces, which is just counted here. So this is a probability measure, and that gives a random quadrangulation with a boundary of perimeter 2L. So it's a guy like this. You've got quadrangles inside, but the boundary outside can be of perimeter 2L. Okay, that's the enumeration point of view. I also remind you of the surgery that we developed last week. So if you have a planar map, M here in white, we say that E for explored is a submap of the map M. If so we had two different point of views on this guy. Either we saw it as a connected subset, the red subset of the dual, containing the dual root edge here, or from this red connected subset in the dual, you can just keep the faces that are visited by this red subset and cutting along all the other edges that are not dual to a red guy. Okay, so you will cut here, 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 there, and so on and so forth. And I hope so, unless I made an embarrassing mistake, that you get the submap there. And we said that this guy is a submap of M because if you start from this guy, you must fill in the holes. So there are two holes, say number 1 and number 2. Remember, we are on the sphere, so the external face, the external hole here has plays the same role as this one. And we must fill in the holes with, so in our case, quadrangulation with a boundary, but in the general case, planar map with a boundary to get back this guy. Okay? Was this clear last week? So, before moving on, also last week, I introduced quickly the local topology. So I said that when M is a planar map, I said, okay, the ball of radius R in the map M, so last week, was defined as you take all the edges whose endpoints are at distance less than or equal to R from the origin of the map. The origin is the origin of the root edge from the origin. So I put this definition just to be quick last week, but actually there is a slight annoying point with this definition is that we may not have that the ball of radius R is a submap of the map we started with. Try to find a counterexample, there are many. And so we will slightly modify this definition, and it does not affect at all the result you proved or we proved that Aran has been going through yesterday, right? So this week, we will define it slightly differently. Instead of taking edges, we'll take all the faces of M that have a vertex at distance less than R minus 1 from the root edge, from the origin. And we cut along and keep only edges whose endpoints are both at distance less than R minus 1 from the origin. Or if you prefer, totally equivalent way is to say that the submap MR, but you see this as a submap, so you may speak about the red dual edges in the dual. These guys are just the dual of these edges there, meaning the edges whose endpoints are both at distance less than R minus 1 from the origin of the root edge. So it's a slightly different definition. In the case of quadrangulation, it does not change a lot, but you may, for example, so if the root edge is here, you may allow faces which are like that. Let's say this is R minus 1. Okay, let's put a face which is even bigger. Here, this one is at R plus 1, R plus 1, R plus 2, say, and even R plus 2. Then this face, with my new definition, will be in the ball of radius R because it contains one vertex at distance less than R minus 1. And I will keep this edge here. This edge will be part of my ball of radius R. But notice that you may have somewhere an edge whose endpoints are both at distance R from the origin of the root edge. Imagine something like this, for example, I don't know. This one is R minus 1, this one is R minus 1 as well, R minus 1. Then what do you do in this ball of radius R? You keep this face, as well. You will keep this edge, this one, this one, this one, and this one, but you don't keep this one. So you cut along. So what do? You create a hole in this map. Okay, so edges and keep on here and cut along the other. Okay?
Excuse me, why would we keep an edge between R and R plus 1 in this situation?
Oh, sorry, R minus 1. Thank you, R minus 1. Okay? Is that clear what I'm doing?
Still, they're both not more than R or R minus R?
No, I need only one. You're right. Edges which have one guy. Thank you, thank you. One endpoint at distance less than R minus 1. But the key is that these guys are you cut along. And it will be clearer in what we are doing because imagine that you are exploring up to distance R, then actually this in the map, if you are exploring from the inside, say that this is the inside, you cannot yet tell whether this is the same wall, say, or whether there is something inside. You cannot tell. And so it's very important for us to say that when we explore from the inside, you may not be allowed yet to say, okay, these are the two faces of this wall are the same, because this requires the information of what is outside of the ball of radius R. Okay? Okay, but don't worry too much about that. It's just to make this now true. Now this is true with this new definition. Okay, so now it's time to dive into the pinning process. So I'll keep this. Maybe a good exercise in the TA session is to draw examples of this. Give examples of maps, and they have to take the ball of radius R to see what's happening. Okay, so pinning process. Pinning finite random maps. So it's chapter 3. So I'll start by defining the pinning process in a completely deterministic setting. Which is as follows. So we have a map, M, planar map. So in our case, you may think that this is a quadrangulation with a boundary. And the pinning process of M will be a deterministic way to explore the map M. So a bit of notation before. When I have an explored map like this, so E stands for explored. So recall that this is a hole, and we'll call the boundary of the holes, which must be simple curves. The boundary of the holes, these are the cycles. So a pinning exploration of M is a sequence of explored map, which are submaps of the original guy, increasing, and which eventually will discover M in the finite case. So these are submaps constructed as follows. So to start with, E0 will just be the external face of the map together with a hole. So in your map M, recall that the external face is the face on the right of the root edge. It's the guy there. Okay? So we'll say that E0 is just the external face of M together with one hole of the same perimeter and a hole of the same perimeter. Okay? Notice that it might be that the external face of your map is not simple. Then in this case, what do? You make it simple because the hole has to be simple. So you, okay, let me draw it for you in the non-simple case. By definition, you put E0 to be an external face which is simple and a hole of the same perimeter. Okay? That's the starting point. And by induction, if EI is constructed, then EI plus 1 is obtained from EI by the peeling of one edge. So let me define for you what I mean by that. So the peeling of one edge, this edge, I will call it A, like arête in French, because E is already used. This edge is a function that I denote by capital A, which is an algorithm. This is called the peeling algorithm. Which is a deterministic function of EI, and which must be an edge of the cycles of EI. Okay? So that means that if I give for you a submap EI, it has some holes, then you have a deterministic function, A, which picks for you an edge on its boundary, say this one. Okay? Is that clear? Then I still need to tell you what I mean by peeling of one edge in this map. And I'll define it here. It's better to see on a picture. So if you have a submap of a bigger map E, and if A is an edge on the cycles of E, then we'll denote by peel inside E the edge A inside the planar map M. This will be the submap of M obtained as follows. So I'll do it on this example. So this map is a submap of this bigger one here, M. And assume for you that I want to peel this edge, this one. Then there are two ways to see that. The easiest way is just to say in the dual, peeling this edge is the same as adding the dual of this edge in the dual version of this submap. So in E0, you add the dual of A of E. Okay? So in this drawing, that is totally equivalent to adding, in this picture, a square like that. You see what I'm doing? Notice that in this square, in the underlying map M, I have an identification of these two sides, but it's not, this edge is not present in the dual version, so I cannot yet identify in the explored map. Okay? Okay? But there are other cases. Imagine now that I want to peel this edge in the submap. Then I do the same thing in the dual version of my submap. I'm adding, I should have kept my color. I'm adding this edge here. So what's the transformation that this implies on my submap? Well, if I'm adding this edge in the dual version of my submap, that means that actually these two guys, these two edges, will be glued. Because if I'm adding this red edge, in the submap version, I must glue these two edges there, because now I know, since I have explored this edge, I know that these two guys must be identified. Okay? Is that clear? So, as follows in the picture, and to put a notation on what happened, there are two cases. So the first case, which I describe here, is when, so let's say that we call this case C, like center K, which corresponds to adding a simple face of degree. So remember that in our course we will deal with quadrangulation, so bipartite map, so I will say that the degree is 2k. So, okay, quadrangulation, this face can only be of degree 4. Let me stick just to the quadrangulation case. So C1. In the quadrangulation case, either you add a simple quadrangle, which means that you've got your explored map, you've got some holes inside, you have picked an edge to peel, this one, and the other case is this one. We'll call it case G, K1, K2. So what is the K1, K2? Let me erase this. So you see that when you peel an edge, everything that is changing in my submap happens in the hole in which I have selected the edge to peel. The other holes are not affected. So let me stick to one single hole on which I have picked the edge to peel. Say this one. Then the event G, K1, K2 will identify in my hole two edges with two K1 edges on the left and two K2 edges on the right. So that means that the perimeter of my hole before, so before the perimeter of this cycle is 2K1 plus 2K2 plus 2. Okay? So it's better to see this exploration process, E0 in the dual version, E1, E2, En little dot, it's not a dot, it's a what? It's a knot? Whatever. Slash circ. So in the dual version, this exploration is just growing a dual connected subset in red by adding one edge at a time and keep it connected. Okay? But I describe it for you in the map version, not the dual version, because we'll use it in the primal version. Okay, and the role of this algorithm should be clear there. It's the deterministic function that tells you how to pick the next edge to peel. Yes?
It's predetermined, this algorithm.
It's a function. This is just a function that it's a function that goes from the set of all maps with holes to an edge of the cycles of this map. Okay? So it's deterministic function. We will randomize it maybe later on. Okay. Then the goal will be to understand the law of this chain when the map M, the underlying map M, is random. Okay? So maybe before doing that, let me treat in complete generality one example, because it's not that trivial. Let me treat the case of, I don't know, it's not bipartite, but I imagine that it's bipartite. Okay, this case, just to start with. Okay, we'll treat, I want to add this, let's say. Okay? Let's peel this guy. So you start with E0, which is just the external face that you made simple with a hole. So you start with this guy. Okay? Now you've got your deterministic algorithm. So you tell me which edge you want to peel. Tell me. This one. So let me draw in the same time the dual version on the map. So you want to peel this guy. Okay, so in the dual version, you are adding this edge. So that will transform your map into the submap by adding this face of degree 3. Okay? Give me an edge to peel. You want to peel this one. I'm pretty sure you want to peel this one. Yeah. You see? I guessed. So you want to peel this one. So in the submap, in the dual version, that means you are adding this edge. Okay? So it's as if, so this is E0, E1, E2 will look like, let me just add this one before. It's a triangle, right?
Why do we have triangles? Why do we have triangles? Not
There!
Yeah.
And not what? That's a triangle. 1, 2, 3. Well, okay, let me put the vertices more clearly, maybe. Is that clearer? Now, you want to peel one edge, yes?
Yeah, I just missed something in the definition. So the dual thing, the dual
Yes, the red guy.
graph, does it need to be connected?
It has to be connected.
Okay.
It must be a connected subset containing the origin, which is the root face, and that's it. And we are adding one edge at a time on this connected red subset. You cannot peel so far. Imagine that you had a guy here. You don't want to peel this edge there because you don't know where to attach. It has to stay connected. Now, let's say you want to peel this one. So this was the first, the second, third, and that's the fourth edge to peel. Now we've got an event where we merge something. Okay, so in this map with a boundary, a map with a hole, sorry, we've got a hole of perimeter 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. Okay? And we are making an identification. We are identifying this edge with that one. So that will result in an event of, say, this is G. So this was an event C. This was also an event of type C, and this is an event of type G dot dot. We will see. I don't want to compute. Or Matan will tell us it's 13 or 14. It's all the same. But this will end up into So you must pay attention to what I'm drawing here. This will end up into this. 1, 2. No, I'm missing a triangle there, right? Is that better? No, no. I said that you must pay.
It was 3 edges, not 4, so it was okay.
1.
It was fine.
1 and 2 is 1.
Ah, thank you. Okay, you get confused with 13 and 14. I start at 3, 2 and 3. That's 3. Thank you very much. So that ends up in 2, but my drawing was correct, right? So I've got 3 dual edges. But what is this? This is my root edge. And what is this? Now it's a hole. So you see that from this exploration, from this point of view, you cannot tell yet whether these 2 guys are identified, which is the case there. But you cannot tell from what you got explored so far. Okay? So let's say now I want to explore this edge. I want to peel this edge. So let me put the edge that we peeled at each step. Now let's peel this edge. What is happening there? I've got a hole of perimeter 2. And I peel this edge. And I say, okay, in my map, this edge is the same as this one. These 2 sides are identified. So here I have an event, actually, of type G10, say, where I identify these 2 edges. And actually, what do I have here is actually a hole, but of perimeter 0. You can actually see this as a hole of perimeter 0 and a hole of perimeter 0 there. 0, 0. And what is a hole of perimeter 0? It's a single point. So when you ask to the map, please add this edge for me, it's only at this time that you discover these 2 vertices. And that's why the convention W0 is equal to 1, or if you prefer, that the set of conjugation with 1 vertex and of perimeter 0 is made of the vertex map. Okay? Okay, so you can imagine you could go on like this, but let me do another case. Yes?
The thing was G00, no?
The thing was G00, yes, with my notation G00. Yes, totally, yeah. I didn't want to make the real number because I focused on the case of bipartite guys, and this guy is not bipartite, but you're right, this is a G00. Let me show you another event that will pop up very often is imagine that this is my hole is here, and I want to peel this edge, and assume that I have an event of type GK0 happening. So with my notation, what is the drawing for an event GK0? That means that this edge that we are peeling is actually identified with the edge just next to, on the right, and I've got the rest of my hole, which is of perimeter, what it should be. Okay? So here I've got perimeter K, and here I've got perimeter 0. And what is perimeter 0 means that here I've got a single vertex. So that means that on this event, I just merge these two edges which are nearby and placing a vertex inside. Okay? Is that clear? So far, all of this is deterministic. I give you a map, you create a sequence provided that you've got this function A. Okay? Now we'll compute the law of this peeling exploration on random quadrangulation. So, and peeling. So to be really precise, so I will work, okay. I will work on the space omega made of, say, quadrangulation with holes. On it, I will put the sigma field which is generated by the Borel sigma field generated by local topology for local topology. And on this space, I have defined for you the law of a Boltzmann quadrangulation, which is the law of a Boltzmann quad with perimeter 2L. This can be seen as a quadrangulation with holes, 0 holes, say. Okay? So always the underlying element will be denoted by M inside omega. And so I can associate the random variable, which is just the increasing sequence, the increasing peeling sequence of my random element. And the goal is to compute the law of this guy. Goal. Compute. Okay, if you want me to be really precise, I should put E0 of M, E1 of M, and so on and so forth. But I will not do that in my notations. The underlying element M will always be implicit. And the goal is to compute the law of the chain EI under the Boltzmann distribution. Okay? So that's the Boltzmann distribution, and we'll denote by EL the corresponding expectation. Okay? And Fn will be the sigma field generated by these random variables. So sigma field generated by E0, E1 up to En. Okay? These are random variables. If my underlying map M is random, these are random variables. These are deterministic functions of my M. And I take the sigma field generated by these guys. Okay? One more, no, let's write the theorem now, the proposition. I need one more notation. Let's say that if E is a planar, say a quadrangulation with holes, I will denote by. Did I use this notation already? No. Okay, no, but I'll keep this one for the number of inner faces. That is not the external face and not a hole. Okay. Then proposition, which totally describe the law of the pinning process. So if L is bigger than 1, and let's say E, you will confuse with En. I need a notation. Epsilon, well, epsilon like this. No, this is belong to. Like a E, but not really a E. What could I use? Let's say E, with an underline. And E is a quadrangulation with K holes of perimeters 2L1 up to 2LK. Which can be obtained after n pinning steps. Or if you prefer, that just means that the number of inner edges is n. Then we can compute exactly the law, the probability that En, so En is the pinning exploration under this probability measure, that you actually get this fixed planar map, planar quadrangulation with holes. And this is explicit. And rho to the minus the number of inner faces of E divided by the partition function WL times the product for I is equal to 1 up to K of WLI. Okay, so that gives you the law of the nth guy in your pinning exploration. Do you understand the formula so far? Furthermore, let's say, we'll put that in the same proposition. Furthermore, conditionally on E being the submap of M, the quadrangulation with perimeters 2L1 up to 2LK, filling in the holes of E in M, are independent Boltzmann distributed guy of law. Okay. Okay, so how to prove this? I claim that this is a very simple calculation. Very simple, just using the definitions. Okay. Because if I tell you that, let's do the more general case, what is the probability under L that my submap E fixed is indeed a submap of M, and its holes are filled with maps that I will call M1 up to MK. Okay, so I have my quadrangulation with holes which is fixed. These are my holes. I claim that I want to compute the probability that I see this as a submap of my underlying map M, and that these holes which are numbered from 1 up to K, that inside this hole I see a map, a quadrangulation with boundary of perimeter 2L1, which is exactly prescribed by this guy, and this guy, and this guy. Okay? What is this probability? Well, if I tell you I see this as a submap, and I know that I have to put M1 here, M2 here, M3 here, M4 here, then you know what is M. You just obtain M by gluing back these maps into these holes. Okay, so that's just the probability that M is equal to E plus, in the sense of gluing the maps Mi on its holes. Okay? But what is this? This, you know by definition that the Boltzmann probability measure is proportional to rho to the number of faces. So that's rho to the, let's say, number of inner faces of E plus Mi divided by the partition function WL. But you can rewrite this exactly as you take the number of inner faces of your explored map divided by WL times you single out the partition functions for these guys, and here you make the product, so rho to the number of minus inner faces of Mi divided by W of Li. Just simply writing. And so what do I see there? I see the formula that I want to prove. That's this formula here. And this is nothing but product of the Boltzmann distribution of perimeter 2Li of my little mi. I is 1 to k. Okay? So now, imagine I take this and I sum over all mi, m1, m2, up to mk. If I sum over all choices of mi, so must be a quadrangulation of perimeter 2Li, if I sum this formula, what do I get? I just get the probability that I see this as a submap And then this sum will get into this guy here. And I'm summing over all possibilities here, but these are probabilities. So I just get what I want. So in the end, I indeed prove that the probability that I see this as a submap of M is this probability. And if furthermore I condition on this, so I'm restricting on this event, then you clearly see from this formula that this Mi are, since I have a product form, they are independent and of distribution given by these guys. So this proves the proposition. Yes?
I am a little bit confused. So, but the proposition says that we obtain. This is saying that the probability of E being a submap of a random. Mm-hmm. That we see that in the Peeling chain.
Yes, because here I said that okay, if there is a possibility for me, okay. How could I say that?
It's like you want to say that if there is a submap, you will see it in the Peeling proof.
I claim that what I've written is correct because I restricted on the map E, which can be obtained by my peeling process, because there is the underlying algorithm A, which is down there. And I claim that if I want to see E for my algorithm, there is only one way that it could work. I mean, if I fail at one step, then I fail. I'm pretty sure. And since I say, okay, E is possible for my algorithm A, that means that at all these steps, they have to go okay. And that means that, okay. How could I convince you of that more clearly? One way is very easy. If I have my map E, which is inside my map M, and if there is a chance for my algorithm to reach E, if E is there, then we discover.
Okay, so the proposition, it means can be obtained, it means that there is an algorithm.
No. Okay.
That's not like
You know what? Forget about this. Let's just write this. And it's not a statement about the pinning steps. Okay? Let's just write this. And I will convince you afterwards of what I'm saying about the pinning. Okay. Now from this, I will compute for you the probability transition of the pinning process, and that will totally be equivalent to what I wanted to say. So let's keep that. And let's compute the probability transitions of my pinning process. So let's fix one-step transition. Okay, so fix the algorithm A once for all. Now, okay, I'm running into the same trouble to convince you, but let me try another one. Fix could I say that? Okay, A is a deterministic algorithm.
I just first could I ask you,
Yes.
I didn't understand the proposition. So now if the previous one. So this is clear, but the other one is that so every submap that you have, you don't see it in the peeling algorithm. Like you don't see all the submaps. So this
Because
this, is what,
okay.
this could not be equal to what you see.
Let me give you one example that will maybe solve this. It depends on the peeling algorithm because you start with this. This is the E0, right? It could be that for one peeling algorithm, you never want to peel this one. Say you want to peel this, okay? And you obtain this, okay? Take this map now. So that's peeling algorithm A. Maybe A is you peel the edge, which is you turn clockwise or counterclockwise, and you wait 2 steps, and you take this one. Okay, that's first algorithm A. Now take algorithm B, which is at first step you still have the root face, but second step you peel the guy which is on the left of the root edge. You peel the root edge. Now I claim that this map E0. Let's say E, the probability with algorithm B of seeing E1 being E, that's 0.
That's my point.
Yes, and that's why I totally restricted to E, which are possible outcomes of my peeling process.
Okay, so that
And I claim that if E is a possible outcome,
you will see it for sure.
you will see it for sure.
If
And
it's a submap and if it's not, you
okay, let's see that E is equal to En is equivalent to, okay, if this is possible, this is equivalent to E being in M, because if it's a possible outcome, that means that you know exactly what are the peeling steps that will lead to this particular guy, if it happens, of course. If it doesn't happen, it's not here. Okay, I know that's not clear on the board, but since you got it, this will be clear in the tutorials. So, good for you. Yes, if this happens with positive probability, okay, you know that after n steps, you will reach exactly this. That means that you know exactly the steps that will lead to this, because the first one has to be E0. Then you know that you will.
the deterministic peeling of this guy.
That's the deterministic peeling of this guy with hold. But, okay? That's exactly why in the statement I have restricted to the E that can be obtained. That's a silly condition, but this counterexample tells you that yeah, there are maps that cannot happen for particular algorithms. And then seeing this is exactly equivalent to having this as a submap of M. Okay. Tutorials. Okay. Now let's compute what I claim the one-step probability transition of the peeling process. So condition on E being in M, then you know and you want to compute what are the transitions. So there are two cases. What is the probability that C1, so C1, remember, event C1 is you peel this edge and you discover a triangle. That's C1. What is the probability that C1 happens at time n knowing Fn? Well, that's just the ratio of these guys Let me erase this to have a bigger board. Let's say condition on En is equal to E. Probability to have this is just probability that E plus even Ck is inside M divided by probability that E only is in M. What I mean by that is that the peeling of the edge A of En leads to the event Ck. Okay? That means just that you've got your map and you have peeled this edge and that leads to this guy. Okay? Just the ratio of the two probabilities. And what you see is you will have the ratio of these two guys. Many things will cancel. This will cancel. There you will have an additional row coming from this face to the -1 times you will change the boundary length of this hole. This will become, I need notation. Let's say L prime is the half perimeter on the whole of A En, which is E. So if this event happens, then this hole will change perimeter and it will become L prime plus 1 divided by this L prime. That's the ratio of these two probabilities. And conversely, the other case, so probability that event G K1, K2 happens at time n, knowing that E is a submap of M, or equivalently that En is equal to E. This is again given by the ratio of these two guys, probability that E plus GK1, K2 is a submap of M divided by the same ratio. Here again, many things will cancel, and the only thing that will remain where you've got K1 plus K2 plus 1 is equal to L prime. Okay, let me illustrate this with a picture. There are many ways to see this probability transition. You could do this step by step. But okay, let me just draw for you once again the transition in a summarized way, and then we'll do the break. If your perimeter, your hole has a perimeter 2L prime, the probability when you peel this edge to see a quadrangle like this probability, I will denote it by B, like Boltzmann, perimeter L prime, and I see 1. And this is what I've written there, rho to the -1, which is 1/12, times WL prime plus 1 divided by WL prime. Regardless of the other holes, and the probability that when you peel an edge on a hole of perimeter L prime, you get an identification of two edges leading to two holes of perimeter K1 and K2. This happens with probability K1, K2, which is WK1, WK2 to WL. Okay, if you have not understood the last proposition, just this is a Markov chain. This tells you that this peeling process En is a Markov chain with the following transition probabilities. You have your Markov chain, the deterministic algorithm tells you where to peel, you've got this edge, then you sample according to these two probabilities what to do. With this probability, you just add a single quadrangle like this, and with this probability, then you split the hole in which you are peeling into two holes of perimeter K1, K2 with this ratio, L prime. Okay? Actually, exercise also for the tutorials if you wish. This can be proved. Imagine that I started just with the Boltzmann guide that I have not explored yet. That this is just the full map. These two events are very easy to compute. These are just ratio of partition functions. Okay? And so what I tell on top of it is that conditionally on this event, that this happens, then the rest here, the remaining guy, has the law of a Boltzmann distribution with the proper perimeter. So you can iterate what I've just said. And here also, conditionally on this event happening, then the two guys there are independent with low Boltzmann distribution of perimeter 2K1 and 2K2. And so you can iterate also what I'm saying, because each hole will be independent of each other, being filled by a Boltzmann distribution of the proper perimeter. Okay? Okay, let's stop for 10 minutes.